So as we understand, there are four types of controllers for Visualforce, right? So out of these four controllers, first is standard, second is standard list, then there is a custom controller, and then we have controller extension. So 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the four different types of controllers that we have for Visualforce, right? So out of these four, standard and standard list, these are standard controllers. These two use the controllers from the Salesforce objects, existing objects, right? So here we don't have to define anything. For standard controller, you just have to actually go and specify the name of the object, which object you want to display the data from, or which object you want to connect the page to, and then you do not have to do anything. You do not go and define the logics or the actions or the navigations. Nothing is actually done by us. We just go and define the name of the object. That's it. So for standard and standard list controller, this is what happens. But for custom controller, we have the option of writing the logics from our side. So we will not use the standard Salesforce defined logics. Instead, we will write our own logics. So when you have that kind of a requirement that you need your own logics, you want to define your own actions, the kind of navigations that you are putting, then you will use a custom controller or a controller extension, right? So how will you write your own logics? What language will you use for that? Apex is the language which we are going to use for that, right? So let's do a few examples to understand that. Okay, yeah, before that, so what we are actually going to do, we will create a class. Okay, in the class we will write all the logic, and we are going to call the class as a custom controller. So this is what we are going to do. It's very simple. So where do I write the logic? I cannot write the logics on the Visualforce page, because that is where I can write the Visualforce components or the markups, right? So where do I write all these logics? I would write it in a class and then call the class on the Visualforce page. Alright. So first of all, before you get into creating the Visualforce page, go to setup, develop Apex classes and write the class. Say new. So this is the name of the class. Now you write whatever variables and methods you want to define here. You just write that. Let's say I want to define a string. Let's start simple. So this is the string. Okay, I want to call this string, or I want to use the string on my Visualforce page. So I cannot call a variable directly on the page. I have to define a method, because on the page you can only call a method, right? That method can return something. So I will write a method with a return type string. So that will be a get method. A getter method is what it is called. So a get method can get you the value from the code. Okay. So I would write right? So this is a variable hello, and yeah, so this is the variable hello, and this is the method which returns hello. So it's a method with return type string, and it returns hello. And this is the method type get, and this is my method name. All right. So I have to go and call this method name on my Visualforce page. But before I call this, I have to call this class as a controller on the Visualforce page. That's it. So once you call it as a controller, then on that Visualforce page, you can use any of the methods which have been defined within your class. All right. So it's that simple. So let's go here and create a Visualforce page. So how do we create Visualforce page? Remove everything in the URL after salesforce.com and then type apex slash page name. Okay. So I created a new page, and then I will call the controller here. So how do you call it? You just say controller. The way we call standard controller, same way we will call the custom controller, say controller equals C1. So this should be the name of the class. So far for standard controllers, you have been defining the name of the object here. This time you will name it by the name of the class. So that's it. Now once you have defined this controller, now you can call the method here. Yes. So saved the controller, or sorry, save the class. Here on Visualforce page, it's called as a controller, and then you call the method, right? So when you call the method, what this method is supposed to return, it's supposed to return hello. So hello is a string which the value for which is hi, how are you, right? So that is what it returns. Whatever is the value of this variable, it returns that. Right, this is just one example, and then here we are returning the primitive. All right, now we will.
I have a question. When you define the method name, you said here get my method, but get usually it should be just the method name, right?
Yes, so you don't have to call the get part there. One second.
So that's a syntax basically.
Yes, it is. Just give me 1 second.
Okay.
Hello. Yeah. Okay. Yes. So we were talking. Yeah. This is a syntax. So in Visual Force page, other places when we call this method, we will call the complete method name. But on Visual Force page, when you're calling this method, you don't have to call the get part of it. Fine. You just have to call this part. That's it. So this is how we call it on the Visual Force page. But yes, actually this complete name is the method name. So in some other places, we will see that part when we call the same method in some other place or something. We have to call the entire thing, right? So this is how we call it on the Visual Force page. So more of a syntax, yes. All right. So, so this is a simple example. Here, what we have done, we have used a primitive, right? This is a primitive data type. Now let's go and work on our S objects. Okay. So same class. Let me put an S object. So S object can be anything. Let's start with an account. Account A equals a new. So it can be either a new account or it can be an existing account, right? So let's start with an example of a new account. And you say name equals Dell industry equals technology, right? Then you have to define a method which can return the value for the account. So this time the return type will be account. Let my method 2. So this should return A. Save the code. No syntax error. That's fine. Alright. Let's go to the page. Now you can go and okay. T is missing. So here, because this returns an S object account, and for account I have defined two fields, name and industry. So you can go and specifically return the field name here. So my method 2 returns the account, and then if you put a dot and the field name, then you will get the value of the field name basically. So this is how it is, right? So this object is also allowed here. So instead of account, you could have used contacts, opportunity, whatever, right? All right. Now let's do another example. And this time we are going to use a list of S objects. So instead of using a single record, let me create a list of S objects and return the list. All right, so it's gonna be list of accounts, right? And for this I will get the value from an SOQL query. So let me write an SOQL query here. Select name, type, industry, phone, fax, from, account. That's it. So this is my SOQL query. This is a list, right? So I will write a get method for returning this list of account. Right. So far it's fine. Now we go and create another Visualforce page. And we will call it as a controller class here, C2. Because it's list, because this is a list of values and it will return a list. So in that case, what we have to do, we have to use a table to display the list. There are multiple records, right? I cannot display multiple records without a table. So I need the help of a table. So we have already created a table. We know how to create a table. Let's use a page block. And then you put title here, call it list of accounts, page block table. Okay, so in the page block table there are two required attributes, right? First is value, second is variable. So value for us will be that method name, okay, which returns the list. Variable is something that we can define. This is in Visualforce page, so you can define it anything, whatever you want. That's it. Now you have to create that columns here. Dot name, type, industry, and fax. Do you see this? So complete list of accounts, right? Now what we have to understand is whatever fields we have queried in the SOQL query, those fields can only be called. Now if you are talking about this variable ACTS, its values, what I have defined, this contains only name, type, industry, phone and fax, 5 fields. You cannot go and on the Visualforce page you cannot go and call some other field which you have not queried in the SOQL query. So any field which is there in the SOQL query can only be called. Sometimes it may happen that, okay fine, you have not queried phone number, let's say. Now if you try to save the page here, it will give you an error. What is the error? A subject row was retrieved via SOQL without querying the requested field, account.phone. So this was not queried, but it is being called on the page. Because it is, so in standard controller, we never had to think about these things, right? Because standard controller is already defined and there all the fields are, readily recognized by the Visual Force page, because every field is defined in the standard controller. Standard controller, when we are talking about, that is also a set of logic which already has been defined by Salesforce, and in that all the fields have been queried or whatever is required has been done, right? However, when we are talking about a custom controller, here I am writing a query and this is the variable which I am using. So this variable only holds this value, right? So if you do not put the field name, you cannot call it on the Visual Force page. So you have to write it, then only it will be visible to you on the Visual Force page, then only you can call this on the Visual Force page. Right? Alright. So now we have this Visual Force page done. Now let's do another example. Now I've put a condition also here. Just show me the accounts where industry equals energy. Alright, and rest everything is going to be same. So I should return list of accounts. So this can also be written, as I told you earlier, this can also be written instead of list of accounts. If you write this account, is the same thing. Alright. Sometimes some codes you will find it to be written as this. So it's same thing, no difference. I'll go and call this on the Visual Force page. The controller will be C3 here. We will create a page block, give it a title, call call it energy accounts. Then create a page block table. Give the value to the page block table, which will be name of the method, and then variable can be anything, as I said earlier. Define columns. Okay, so these are the records with a particular industry, right? Energy. All right. So this is how you can define your methods on the class and then call them on the Visualforce page. So this is one thing. Now the other thing that we plan to do here is, so this is basically, so far we have been using the get methods. Now we'll use a page reference method, another type of method. What is a page reference method? A page reference method will basically does a page refresh kind of a thing. Okay. So page reference method will reload the page, and in that reload what will happen, you can set, on the reload you can set new values to the variables. Okay, you can change the values to the variables. So this page reference thing would happen through a button. So let's see a button action. How do we do a button action here? So let's say on this Visualforce page I want to have 3 buttons. One button should allow, I should be able to click on the button to see a complete list of accounts. One button should show me accounts from only where the type is customer direct. One button should allow me where the type is customer channel. Okay, 3 buttons I want to create. So let's go and create the class. So in this example, what we are going to do, we are just going to define an S object, but we will not assign any value to it. Okay. Give it whatever name, selected accounts. Okay, so I do not give any value to it. Now we will go into defining a method for it. Okay. So we have defined an S object and we have defined a method to return the value of the S object. Selected. Yeah. Right. No, but because I've not given any value or I've not assigned any value to it, so what I'll do, I will write additional methods which will, help me get the value to this variable. The method which I'm going to write is a page reference. Okay. So give it a name. Call it show all. So in this page reference, I will set the value for my selected accounts equals select name, type, industry, phone, facts from account where, no, from account. So it's all accounts, right? So no condition. So this setting of the value is what we are doing here inside this page reference method, show all. Got this? So I'm not initially defining any value for it. I set it here inside this page reference method. This is fine. And this page reference will return null. Okay. Why do I say page reference return null? Page reference method, as I said, it reloads the page. So on this page reference method, you can navigate to some other page as well. If you are on page 1 and you want to navigate away to a page, different page, you could have done that thing, right? You can perform some action and you can move to some other page. So page reference can do that. But what I want to do, I just want to use this page reference method, perform this action, this line of code, and then stay on the same page. So that is when you will say return null. Got it? So if you want to perform some action and move away to some other page, then you should have given return and then name of that page. Okay, the other page where you wanted to move. If you want to perform this step, this line of code, execute this line and then return back to the same page, then you should say return null. So that is the thing. Account selected line number 6. So we can see what are the errors, right? Variable does not exist. This is at line number 6. So selected. Yes, the code is fine now. Now when you call this on the Visualforce page, initially it will not have any value. So let me copy the entire code from there. Okay, let it be. Okay. Okay, I'm not copying the code so that you guys can see me typing and it becomes easier for you to understand. Okay, so page block table and variable, sorry, value will be selected accounts and my variable will be and k dot name. Okay. So initially it does not show any value. Why it does not show? Because initially this is a blank variable. It does not have any value. So that is the reason why you do not see anything in the list. Right? When will it get value? It will get value on this method, once this method is called. This method can be called using a button. So using a command button you can call this method. Okay. So I will call it. So before you create a button on the page, what is the other thing that we require on the page? An Apex form, right? So command button is a form component. So you will call the Apex form. Okay, so button value can be anything, whatever you want to type. Action will be the method that you have defined there. So this should be the name of the method that we have defined there. Do you see this button here? Now on click of this button, it will show you all the accounts. So what is happening actually on the click of this button? So initially when the page is loaded, that variable or the S object selected accounts, that is blank, it does not have any value. That is the reason why it shows us as a blank thing. Now on the click of this button, what action we have defined here on the page? We say selected accounts. So when someone clicks on this, reload the page and make this equals to this. So the value of this variable changes here and then it returns the same page. So that is what is happening here. Performs the action and returns me to the same page. Click on this. It returns me to the same page. Got this thing? Alright. So same way if I want more. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, actually, on the account detail page, standard detail page, we can get some option like recent accounts or 7 days accounts and all accounts. We can search anything. And here, can we create that button as well?
You create whatever button you want. It all depends on what query you have written, right? So you just have to say that, okay, created date less than whatever date was, for example, you want to include all the accounts after 12th of September. You just say where created date is greater than.
No, actually I'm talking about the drop down we get on the detail page, standard detail page. Like we said, like there is a button and we have a drop down there. We can select like 7 days account, recent accounts, and like these type of things we can get from there. And here as well, can we create that?
Yeah, you can do that, but for that you will need to define a custom pick list, right? So that is basically a pick list, right? So you have to create a custom pick list and you'll have to put the values in the pick list. that whatever options you want to give, put those values, custom pick list values there, and then click on the button. So it should take the value from the pick list and then go and do the search. So that is how it is. So we will do an example of the search. From there you will get a little hint on what can be done there. So that can be done. Whatever, I mean, it's all about, you can display whatever data you want. The point is that the query that you are writing, if there is something for which we can write a query, we can definitely return the data, right? Now for the drop down thing, yeah, you can always define a pick list and then pass on the value through the pick list. So that thing can be done, not a difficult thing. Just one thing which we have to understand, anything for which we can write an SOQL query, I mean any logic which we can push into the query can be done. Alright, so now for example, we want to have more values here. For example, one more this thing, page reference I want to have here, which is public page reference and I call it direct. Same code I would copy here, but here my logic will be where type equals for example. Now I want to call this button also here, so go and define a button. So one more button that I have here now, show all accounts will show all the accounts, show direct accounts will show only the accounts where the type is customer direct. See, so this way you can have multiple of them, or you just have different ways of putting these values here. Now the point is bringing Ajax into this. Ajax means partial refresh of the page. Do you notice one thing, that once you click on this button, this complete page is getting reloaded. So which, as a result, what is happening for that, it's taking a little longer for the complete page to get reloaded and return the value, right? This is not a very good thing to do, because this performance wise it does not look good. I mean, so far we do not have too much of data on this page also, and it is taking a considerable amount of time. So when you have a page and you just actually, what do we want to refresh? We just want to refresh this section, right? The table where I have the data. So in this, what is happening, this entire page is getting reloaded. So if this entire page gets reloaded, it will take a little longer. So we just have to go and do a small thing here. The section that we want to reload, we have to give it a name. We'll have to give it an ID. So ID can be anything. My table. Okay, so this is the ID of this. And on the button, you just have to go and say re-render my table, re-render, that's it. Now when you click on the button, what do you see? The entire page does not get reloaded. It's just a section that you wanted to refresh. That's it. So this is what we can do using these buttons, right? So there are other actions also which can be performed using the buttons and all. Alright, got this thing clear? Okay. Now let's say you want to create a Visualforce page that allows you to enter a record into the system. Fine, now you want to create a Visualforce page through which you don't want to display the data anymore, you just want to go ahead and enter a record into the system. So let's create one more class. Okay, so now I have defined a new account and then I define a get method for it. Then I define a page reference method for it. Public page reference save. In the save I say insert a return null. Alright, so I will insert this account A on the save button. So let me just go and create another page. Controller will be C5. Okay. Create a form. Fix. Input field. Value. Name. Okay, you can comment some part of your visual force using this. Start with this and end with this thing. So this is what you should end with, and this is what you should start with. Right. Sometimes it happens that some part of the code you do not need temporarily, but you do not want to delete it as well. Right. Or you just want to, keep a note of it. Okay. So this is something which will not appear in your code on the page, but this is something which will be there. Sorry, it will not appear on the page, but it will still be available on the code. So this can be for your reference at future, that why did you use this field or something like that. Or this can be something that you temporarily do not want to use, but you feel that okay, it might be required at a later point of time. You do not want to delete it. If you delete it, then the a piece of code will be lost. So you can just keep it. Alright, so I have my account name industry type here. So account name is, I can put my account name, I can select the industry, and then I can put the type, right? So you don't have to go and define anything if you are selecting the input field. Input field by default takes the field type. So if it's a drop down, it will automatically come as a drop down. If it's a date field, it will automatically come up as a date picker. Fine. So here we don't have to do anything extra. Now the only thing that I have to do here is have to create the save button here. Then I can put the values and click on the save button. So this time I'll put the buttons inside a page block button. This page block button component is just used for a small thing. You might have noticed in Salesforce most of the times the save button appears at the top as well as at the bottom, right? So for doing the same thing, you can use a page block button. So if you put any button inside a page block button, so what is the difference that this page block button has made? Just see it. You've created one button, but it automatically appears at the top as well as at the bottom, right? So this page block button will help you do this. In case you want this kind of a button which appears at the top as well as at the bottom, you can just put it within the page block buttons. But you have to remember that it has to be a direct child of the page block. See, the page block button is direct child of page block, and if you put this page block buttons inside a page block, then this shows you the button once at the top of the page block and once at the bottom of the page block. Got this? All right. Now I enter my value there. Then we put a type, and then we click on save. So the save will bring me to the same page and it will save the record as well. Click on save. The page loads, comes back to the same page, right? But the record has been saved. It comes back to the same page because I have said return null, right? So ideally after saving you should navigate to some other page, but we are not actually navigating away at this point of time, so we are just coming back to the same page. Let's go and see. Yeah, my account got created. This is the one. See, the recent account. Right. So you can also use Visual Force pages to make certain entries into the system. Sometimes now you might be thinking that when we have the default pages for creating the records, why would we use Visual Force pages for making the entries and all? Sometimes you may have that requirement that you just want to allow the end user to have a very simple interface with 2-3 fields. For example, think of a scenario. If your sales person is making a call and over the call he gets a reference, right? And he needs to add contact. This can be a situation. I mean, you are the sales guy, you are making a call and over the call you're talking to the customer or someone and that person says that, hey, can you just quickly take down the number of this guy and talk to him? He is the right person. Now at that point of time, will he have time to go to this kind of a field, this contacts thing, and then type in all the contact details and everything? Will he have that kind of time? No, right? So in that case, he might need a small form kind of a thing available, just maybe available here in a smaller section. Right, so we'll see how to put that inside this using a controller extension. So that is one thing, but that kind of a requirement he can have that. Okay, fine, a new contact creation for small form I need here. So small Visual Force page kind of thing. Embedded, we have talked about embedded Visual Force page, embedding the Visual Force page inside the actual page. So this can be a quick requirement that that can be there. So insert operations can be done or updating can be done from there. Alright, fine. Now the next example that we are going to talk about, we will be talking about SOSL in that example. So, supplying some value to the system, to my Visual Force page, and we want the Visual Force page to return values based on the search. Okay, it should perform a search and return the values. That is what we are trying to do. Okay, so let's see what we have to do here. We'll create a class C6. Okay, so in this example we will deal with what all variables. For performing a search, there are two things which we need. One is, what do you want to search and what do you want to return, right? So search, what I want to search will be the keyword and what I want to return will be the results. Right, so let's say I want to search with a keyword and find out some accounts. All right, so this example we will just go ahead and first thing, keyword will be a string. Right, so first I define a string, call it keyword. So this is going to be a string. Second will be my list of accounts. which will be a list of S object, or call it yes. So this is what will be returned after that search happens, right? So this is going to be my end result, which I will display on the page. Okay. Now this page will help you search for accounts using this keyword. So this is what we have to do. All right. So simply, first of all, and try and understand this. This keyword I have to call on the Visualforce page, and this list also I have to call on the Visualforce page. So first thing, we should go and define the get method for these two things, right? So for those who do not have that much of programming knowledge and understanding, try to keep these basic things in mind. All right, these are going to be very helpful for you. So first thing, define the variable. Now if you know that you have to call this variable on the Visualforce page, use that logic that, okay fine, I need a get method, because get method is what I can call on the Visualforce page, right? So simply go and define the get method for both these things. Let's finish that off. Now, while you're naming the get method, you do not have to use the exact name of the variable. It's not necessary. You can give it anything. You can call it anything. Get method 1, and then it returns keyword. Okay. Now, though this one does not have to be same as the variable name, I would recommend you guys to have the same name here, because otherwise it becomes a little complex for you to remember so many variables and method names and all those things, right? And for writing also, it's not required to be same, but I recommend you keep it same for your convenience. I always keep it same. Like now the other method that I have is string get method 2 return ACTS. Now if this way I have 2, 3 more, don't you think it will after some time it will become a little more complex for me to remember method 1 will return what, method 2 will return what. So instead keep it simple, just use this thing, so that while you're calling it on the Visualforce page, it becomes easier for you, right? Alright, so two variables, one is line number 11. Okay, this is not string, this is list of accounts. Okay, so two variables and the get methods for both of them defined. Now what else do we need? We need a button to perform the search, right? A search button will be there which will start the search. So what we need here? We need a page reference. Which will return null, and it will query here. So I have to write my query here. This time I'm not going to use SQL query, this time I will use an SOSL query. SOSL query is basically something which stands for Salesforce Object Search Language. Salesforce Object Search Language. Okay. So this SOSL is very similar to your SOQL. But there are a few differences in SOQL and SOSL. The basic difference between your SOQL and SOSL is that SOQL can perform the search on one table, whereas SOSL can perform search on all the tables. Alright. So give me a minute. So this is the reference guide for these queries. So I'm just sharing it in the chat window. You guys can pick it from here. Here you will get all the syntax and everything of both these types of queries, right? So basics, I will just explain you what is the difference. So SOQL uses a select statement, and in that select statement you always have to define this from an object. So SOQL basically queries the data from an object. So far whatever SOQL queries we have written, we have been writing select name type this and that from account, select this from this object. So you specify a particular object, one table, right? In SOSL it is more of a search. So the concept is that the search can happen on multiple tables also. You might want to search the keyword in multiple tables. So when you are performing the search in multiple tables, you don't define the table name. So that is the difference between your SOQL and SOSL. So if you look into the SOSL syntax, it basically uses a find statement. Instead of a select statement, it uses a find statement. Okay. So it uses find and then the search query. So what do you want to search? Alright. By default, it searches in all the fields, but if you want, you can define a search group as well. So what are the search groups which are available? So here you are not defining the object, you are not talking about object, you are talking about a search group. So what are the search groups which are available? These are the search groups which are available. All fields will mean it will go and search in all the fields of all the objects. Name fields will mean it will search in name fields of all the objects. Email fields of all the objects. So field type you can define. If you want to narrow down your search, if you do not want your query to unnecessarily keep on searching on all the objects and all the fields, then you can define the field type, right? So that will kind of narrow down the search part. All right. And then the same way like phone fields, sidebar fields. So these are the search groups which are available. And then returning. What do you want to return after doing that search? What do you want to return, right? And then there are these other clauses are also available if you want to put a where condition, order by. So these are all things which are pretty much similar to your SOQL or SQL queries basically. But primary difference is this, that SOSL helps you perform a search in multiple objects at one time, and also has the option of doing the search based on some field criteria, right? Okay, so we are going to write an SOSL query here. So the syntax for SOSL, I have given you the reference thing. Just go back to this and understand SOSL a little more in detail. And it has SOQL details also, which you might be aware of. But while writing the queries and all, refer to these things. This is very helpful, right? It's more like a dictionary. So the SOSL query for this will be list of account then you will say find what do you want to find? The keyword. So this is your search query, right? Find this keyword If you do not define anything, if you do not define any search group, then by default it will search in all the fields. You don't have to write in all fields. By default it will search in all fields. So I don't write anything here. I want to search in all the fields. And then you say returning. What do you want to return? Now what all fields you want to return after the search? I want to return name, type, industry, phone, fax. So this is my query, simple one. Okay. Now there is one more thing that I have to define here. Alright. What is that one more thing that I have to do here? I have to define a set method here. So far we have been using the getter method. So getter method is used for taking the value from the code. So if you have to understand a getter method in simple words, it takes the values from the code or from the backend logic and it puts it into your interface UI, right? So get method is to get the values on the UI. Okay, so display the values on the user interface. Setter method, on the other hand, there is a setter method. So set method will help you take the values from the UI and pass it on to the code, right? So this keyword is something which I have not yet defined. Where will I get the value of the keyword? From the UI. The user will come and enter, right? So in that case, we need a setter method for this as well. So go ahead and define a set method for this. Okay. And the set method, because it will not return anything, it is going to be a void method. A void is basically a method which does not return anything, right? So this is basically, though I'm calling it a set method, it's a void method. It does not return anything, and I pass on a parameter to this. Fine. So this is a void method where I'm setting the value for this keyword, right? So I pass on a parameter string s, right? So when you type in, actually what happens is initially on the user interface there will be no value. When the user types in some value, that set method comes into picture first of all, and the value which is typed in is this. So if you type in, let's say, keyword ABCD, so that is stored in this parameter, okay, because this is something which is working on your method, right? So that is stored in this. In the next line you set it to the keyword and then you perform the search on the basis of keyword. So if you type in ABCD as your search thing, firstly that will be passed on to this parameter, and then from there this will be saved into this variable, and then you are searching this keyword, variable keyword, in your SOSL query. Got this thing? Your code is ready. Now we just have to go to the Visual Force page. and define the user interface on the Visual Force. So I have this thing. Fix page 11. No, not page 11, let it be page 12. The search interface, and this first thing that I will bring is the place where you can perform the search, right? So that will be an input text. Should come under Apex form. Okay, small thing that you should keep in mind. This is going to be input text. The previous example that we did for inserting a record, there we used input field. So there is difference between input text and input field. Input text is used if you are calling a string on that, the value is a string or something, right? Basically a primitive. Input field will be when we are talking about S-object fields. So previous example, when we are trying to insert a record, there we were using input field because we were referring to the S-object fields, right? Here it will be input text, right? Because this is a string. And then you also create a Apex command button. Call it search. Action will be also search, so action comes from there. So my input text area is ready and the search button is ready. Only thing I have to do here is create a table which can display the results, search results, right? Apex page block table, and then value for this will be variable will be a column a dot name. Type industry all facts. All right. So now you can put a search criteria or a keyword here and click on search. This will perform the search and return the result. Right? That is what it should do. It's working. Again, it's reloading the complete page. I don't want this thing to happen, so a simple thing. Re-render only the table. Click off this button. That's it. Now you want to do search using wildcard and all those things, wild characters. All options are available here. Okay. So asterisks and question marks, these wildcards you can use, right, for search. So in case you have to use wildcards and all, you need to understand this part a little further. Asterisks match 0 or more characters at the middle or end, not the beginning. So you cannot put an asterisk while searching. You cannot put the asterisk at the beginning. You can put it at the end or middle. So if you know the first and the last part of it and you do not know something in the middle, you can put that. Wherever the question mark just matches only one character in the middle or end. So asterisk can match multiple characters, and question mark can match only one character. So if you are very sure that you are missing on one character, then you can use the question mark there while performing the search and all. So that is there, right? The more you actually work on this, you will understand. All right. So SOSL is the other thing that I wanted you to understand and spend some time try to work on a few more examples. Now the next thing that we are going to talk about is the controller extension. So far we have been just talking about custom controller, right? So this is all custom controller, whatever we have talked about. Now the next example that we are going to talk about is the controller extension. Now controller extension is, you don't have to do anything different for creating a controller extension. It is all the same. Whatever we have done so far, it's the same thing. The only difference between a custom controller and controller extension is that this controller extension is also going to be a class. Okay, this is a class which you call on the Visualforce page. But the difference between a custom controller and a controller extension is That controller extension can be used as an additional controller. So a page which already has a standard or a custom controller, you want to extend the functionalities of the page. For example, you already have a page, and in that page you are using a standard controller. So in that standard controller, if you want to enhance the functionalities of that page, you want to add some more functionalities in that page, then you will use a controller extension. That is what you have to do. You do not have to convert the complete standard controller into a custom controller. You just have to write additional 2-3 methods, whatever you want to use in a class, and call that as an extension. So instead of calling that as a primary controller, call it as an extension. So extension, as the name says, right, it's an extension of a primary controller. So primary controller can be either a standard controller or a custom controller. Extension can be used as an extension. So extension, as we understand, will be used for extending the functionalities. So it's very simple to use a controller extension actually. Let's write a class and then we will call it on one of our standard controller pages. Most of the times you will use a controller extension with standard controllers. So let me just go and define a new class. Let's define a very simple class. Public class E1. So this is an extension. And here you just write now, this is a method which I have defined. This is a custom defined method. Fine. It can be anything. It can be a complex method. So method writing and all those things we have already seen. I'm just using a very simple example here. So this is a method that we have defined. So this is a user defined method. I want to use it with a standard controller page. A page which has a standard controller on that I want to call this method. What we will do, we'll go to one of our standard controller pages, I think page 4. We already have some pages where we have used standard controller, like this is the page. Right. Now on this page, if I want to call that method, so this is a standard controller page. This is using a standard controller. So standard controller means no custom logics. But if I want to use one or two custom methods, for example, here I want to call that hello, that method. What is the error that we get? The standard controller does not know what is hello. Fine. So if I remove this standard controller and use that as a controller completely, then the problem will be these things will not be recognized. If you change this controller to E1, then your problem will be all these things, all the standard functionality that you are using, that you will not be able to use. Right? So the solution is, so that you can use this part as well as this method, the solution is you have to call it as an extension. So call E1 as an extension. Correct? Let the base controller or the primary controller be there and use your class as an extension. So that is it. But before you can use anything as an extension, before you can use any class as an extension, you just have to define in the class itself that you would want to use it as an extension. So you just have to define a small constructor here. Apex pages dot whatever. Right, now you can call it as an extension of the standard controller. See, now it returns this thing. Right, so instead of this method you could have used any other method, your page reference method and all that stuff, right? So now the advantage that you get with a standard, with an extension is that if you want to use a standard controller for an object, so standard controller is connected to one object only, right? Standard controller is connected to an object, that's clearly defined here. It's connected to account, right? So I was just talking to you regarding an example of creating a contact, small contact creating page kind of a thing on the detail page of one record. Now if you just want to perform something like that, you are on account page and sitting on the account page you want to create a contact without going out of that page. What will you do? If you are using a standard controller, you can use extension for your creating of contacts. So extension can bring in anything. So for example, list of campaigns. Select name, start date, and date from campaign. Public list of campaign. Right. Now you can come here and display the list. Though this is a standard controller page of account, you can easily come here and display the list of campaigns as well. Apex page block. Apex page block table. Value can be See, so interesting. So, I mean, extension can help you extend the functionalities of a controller. Most of the times it is used with a standard controller, because in standard controller you do not have the scope of bringing your custom logics, and you can use an extension to bring in your custom logic. So you want to display data from some other object, or you just want to perform some action on some other object, or anything else, your user defined methods, or you want to have buttons which should perform the actions that you want to do. That sort of things can be done using your controller extensions. Right? Clear on this?